Hey guys, welcome back to Coach's Corner. This week we're taking a look at sweat loss and electrolyte replacement. Now, as marathoners, half marathoners, long distance triathletes, and cyclists, we're very well trained in getting those carbohydrate replacements in while we're out there training and racing. So we always have our gels on hand, our gummies, our sports drinks to make sure that we're getting those simple sugars back into the body so that we can provide rapid energy and be able to maintain our intensity for longer periods of time. However, we tend to neglect either the fluid hydration as well as the electrolyte replacement when we're out there. We're going to focus in on that electrolyte replacement because this is absolutely critical in not only preventing adverse health effects, but also being able to maintain your performance over time as well. Okay. So what the electrolytes do for our body, two of the major ones being potassium and sodium, is they're going to regulate the movement of fluid in and out of our cells. So what happens when we neglect the electrolyte replacement and we simply focus on putting water or minimal sport drinks into our body is we dilute our bloodstream and our body's ability to maintain this regulation process. So we talked in an earlier Coach's Corner about hyponatremia, which was essentially a dilution of the blood where we had a lack of sodium and an overabundance of fluid. It resulted in that excessive bloating and can result in even serious health complications, including death. So ultimately, electrolyte replacement is going to be very important for us to maintain our safety while we're out there training and racing, as well as our performance. Now, how do we figure out how much electrolytes we may be losing in our sweat? The first thing we need to do is figure out what our sweat rate is in general. So in order to do this, I recommend setting yourself up for an hour-long workout at a moderate intensity, ideally at the conditions that you're going to be racing at or training at for the next month to 3 months of time. Okay, so you're going to weigh yourself prior to as well as immediately post that hour-long workout. And you want to make sure that you're weighing yourself in the same conditions. So for example, I recommend weighing yourself with none of your clothes on so that you can get an accurate reading. So you're going to do that immediately prior, and then immediately post, you do want to remove any of your sweaty clothes that you have on. If you have a lot of sweat and you have longer hair, you may want to wring out your hair for that sweat as well, because any sweat that we're maintaining on our person, when we weigh ourselves, it's not going to give us an accurate reading of how much weight was lost, because we'll still be getting a reading of what our current weight is with the sweat that's sitting on our clothes on top of our body. Okay, so again, you want to mirror the conditions for prior to as well as immediately post that hour-long session. You also want to make sure you're writing down any fluids or nutrition that you're taking in over the course of that hour. So for example, if you've had 4 sips or 4 ounces of water, you want to make sure you're writing that down so we can factor that into the equation to calculate your absolute sweat rate. Okay, so once you have these two measurements, you're going to subtract your ending weight from your starting weight, and this will give you how many pounds per hour of water you're essentially losing, or of sweat you're essentially losing per hour. So in some cases, this may be only about a half a pound, up through, if it's really hot, really humid, and you're a heavy sweater, this can be upwards of 8-9 pounds, even in just an hour. So it's important that we do this calculation because there is such a wide range, and it's starting to learn your body and your response to various environmental conditions like altitude, heat, humidity, dryness, anything like that that's going to affect our sweat rate. Okay. So once we have that sweat rate, we know that about 2 pounds of water lost is essentially 1 liter of fluid. So we can use that when we're looking at roughly how much water we need to replenish after a workout, as well as the ratios of what we may need during our training or during our workouts. Now, if we look at the electrolytes portion of that, in particular, I'm going to talk about sodium. Again, there's going to be a high variation from individual to individual. There's been reports of people losing anywhere from 0.2 grams per liter per hour of sodium up through even 12 plus grams of sodium per liter per hour. Okay, so it's important again to know your body. If you see a lot of those white salt deposits on your skin after your workout, then likely you're a heavier, salty sweater. So it's important that we know that, because you need to factor that in when we're looking at replenishment. Okay. One thing I do want to note though is that we aren't going to realistically be able to replenish 1-for-1 or match mirror to mirror of what's being lost to what we're able to take in, whether it's in training, in the moment, or in a race setting. So what we're really trying to do is replenish a sufficient amount of those electrolytes and fluid to be able to maintain performance and our safety, but also making sure that we're replenishing in the same ratio that is being lost. So if we're losing 0.2 grams of sodium per liter per hour of salt, then we need to make sure we're refueling in that same ratio every hour, okay? Even if it's not the exact same amount, absolute amount per hour. Okay. This is going to make sure that we're able to maintain that equilibrium in the bloodstream and that balance to be able to regulate, again, that movement of the water and the fluid in and out of the cells for effective energy production, effective movement, and basically effective performance. Okay, so learn your sweat rate, learn your electrolyte replacement rate, and start to figure out how you can utilize either sports drink, salt tabs, consult with a registered dietitian to figure out what you can use to replenish those electrolytes as well as your fluid when you're out there training and racing throughout the next year. Okay. As always, thank you guys again for watching, and I look forward to seeing you right here next week at Coach's Corner.